Welcome everybody to the November 2020 Houston Astronomical Society novice meeting. As I just went through a few of those announcements, look forward to everybody joining us tomorrow. But for tonight, we have a wonderful presentation by none other than Mr. Steve Goldberg. So no, it is a wonderful presentation. So I won't do too much of the introductions. I'll let Deborah Moran, our novice chairperson, do that. But you know, having come back from the El Dorado Star Party just a few weeks ago myself and having some serious Star Party withdrawals, I'm greatly looking forward to seeing some more pictures of the Texas Star Party. I've got Texas Star Party withdrawals. And for those of you who have been there before, I'm sure you've got them too. For those of you who've never been and have never been to a large Star Party like this, I'm hoping that what you see in Steve's presentation inspires you to, you know, potentially look at going next year should the situation improve and we've got a Texas Star Party next year. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our novice chairperson, Miss Debbie Moran, who will introduce our guest speaker tonight.
Well, hi, everyone. So after I joined the Astronomy Club in 1980, Steve was already president at that time. And he's probably one of the best known people from our area in organizational astronomy. So even before arriving in Houston, he was president of the Pontchartrain Astronomical Society in New Orleans. And he was president when I joined. And then after that, he's been very active at the Texas Star Party, going the first time in 1982 and going every time since, except for only 2 misses, I understand. And also becoming part of that organization. So he's currently part of the board of directors, and he has been chairman in the past. His wife Amelia ran registration for many years, and they've also helped with housing reservations for many years. So he knows all about the Texas Star Party, what you see, and all the behind the scenes also. Now we scheduled this month because if it comes off, normally this would be the time of year that you start applying to go to the Texas Star Party. I'm hoping Steve will give us information on how to do that. If you're a brand new astronomer, I had been, I think, doing astronomy for about 1.5 years before my first Texas Star Party, which was also 1982. Our dark side is just a great way to kind of get accustomed to a darker sky, learn your telescope. That'd be a great prerequisite before going out to a truly dark sky in West Texas. It's a little bit of a Where's Waldo effect if you're a new astronomer trying to find your way around the sky. But it's glorious because anything you try to find, you're never limited by our haze. It's going to jump out at you at a place like Texas Star Party. And the camaraderie, I thought astronomy was a solitary event all the way from about age 4 to 21 until or 23 or so until I joined an astronomy club. You get nothing like the camaraderie at the Texas Star Party, and there's a lot of repeat attendees, so it feels a little bit like a family. So let me give it to Steve to tell you what to expect and maybe give us some COVID updates of how you're organizing it this year. Go ahead, Steve. Thanks for being here.
Go ahead and stop my share, Steve. You should have it. And I just wanted to mention before Steve gets started, if you have any questions you wanted to ask of Steve during the course of the presentation, use the chat function within Zoom. It's there at the bottom of your Zoom controls or at the top, depending on how you have your configuration. And just ask away, and we'll get to those questions in the order they're asked. So, Steve, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to talk today Texas Star Party. What is it? Where is it? Different housing types and how to attend. But first, I got 2 announcements to make. Some of the pictures you'll see today may not have been recent. They could have been 15, 20 years ago. After you've attended 3 or 4 Star Parties, oh, I remember that, but you can't remember the year. So all the years just run together. So, so some of the pictures will be old. Second is that this past year, we had to cancel TSPs because of the COVID stuff. And right now we're working on setting it up for the next year. So it's going to be a limited type Star Party. I'll have a slide at the end to show how it's different. So let's pretend you're thinking about going in 2022, and we'll see what it does. So the history is it started 1979 at the Davis Mountain State Park. It was known as Texas Star Party. And in 1981, some guys got a bright idea. Let's make it bigger. So they need something for observers. At the time, there was the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference, which talks about telescope makers and vendors. And then that was on the West Coast. On the East Coast was Stellafane, and that was almost strictly telescope makers. So they want something for observers. So it's a week-long event. We hold it at the PRUDE Ranch, which is a summer camp, dude ranch, corporate meeting place. And we take over the whole ranch and we black out the rooms that face the observing fields. So no white light from inside goes out. We have light restrictions at night, no driving at night, and there's no morning activities because we assume you're sleeping in because you were up all night. Now, of course, if it's cloudy, yes, you can drive. Light restrictions are lifted, if it's not observable. So where is it? You are here. It is here. Just go out I-10 for about 10 hours and hang a left, and that'll get you out there. About 140 songs on the iPad. So the ranch itself is like a Western style. It's rustic, it's dry, it's dusty. There's a dining hall. Everything is walking distance on the ranch. So your accommodations, your dining hall, your meeting hall, you can drive on the ranch the first day and then drive off the last day and never get into your car again. There's a swimming pool during the day and there's horseback riding. And like Bill Sparisi sometimes says, did I tell you it was rustic, dry, and dusty? So here's the entrance to the ranch. Just a typical Western type entrance. Here's a map of the ranch. Starting in the lower right-hand corner is the main gate. You go through, and there's one set of RVs. Whoops. Don't click. There's one set of RVs here, and this is the lower observing field. Follow the road. You have the office, the dining hall, and meeting hall. There's some family cabins, they call it here. Then they have some bunkhouses next to the corrals, and when you pass the horse corrals. And up the road, this is the central observing field. Follow it around. These are motel rooms up here at the top, and this is the upper field. This is where a lot of the people go. There's a few more RVs here. So if you turn around a little bit, the front gate is way up here, and you can see the RVs and lower field. And then here we come to the middle field, and all through these trees here are bunkhouses. And then you have the upper field with motel rooms around it. And in the upper field, we put a road through it, and you can drive onto the field. You can't park except to like load and unload. And you see all the telescopes around the edges, around the center by the road. So lower field is pretty much, set up where you want. There's not too many restrictions to do that. See scopes and tents, trailers around. In the middle field and the upper field, they make restrictions. Only tents and vehicles can be around the outside, so it leaves the inside for telescopes. So there's no conflict with people trying to drive in the middle and all that stuff. And then the upper field is a panorama. It's about the size of a football field, if not even a little bit bigger. And you can see here how there's tents and cars around here. And in the middle are the telescopes. And this is a daytime picture. That's a nighttime picture. So it gives you an idea of the skies. So there's a movie here, Skies Over TSP. Let me play this here. There's no sound to it. So it's all red lights, no white lights down there. Occasional plane. And it's pretty dark down the horizon. This was several years ago. Now that there's more drilling in the Permian Basin in that area, you have a little more white light pollution to the north. So this gives you an idea of what the skies look like at night. That's 5 hours. Now we're just going to go through some random pictures at TSP. Just the observing field. This is the upper observing field, and in the back there is one of the pods for motel rooms. There's people just set up wherever, helping others put up C-14s. I know this picture is back from the 80s. I can tell one of the vehicles in there. Mine sets up a little camper with a little shade tent and a telescope right in front of them. Another picture of the upper field. A lot of people put down indoor-outdoor carpets or tarps to help keep the dust down off of the scopes, which you do recommend. I would recommend indoor-outdoor carpet because if it rains, water can go through that. Whereas with a tarp, the water will sit on the tarp itself. This is one of the introductions of the ultra compact. Some people in our clubs have a couple of these. People lined up near the motel rooms. They have all kinds of telescopes out there. This looks like to be a 20 or 25-inch being put together. Doing some solar observing. So this guy was here a couple of years with nice looks of the sun. And let's look at some of the schedule of events that goes on. Registration starts Monday from 1 to 5, and then the rest of the week from 4:30 to 5:30. Vendors are open Monday to Saturday from about 10 to 12, and they shut down for lunch. Then 1:30 to 5, there's a pavilion in the middle field where they set up. Afternoon speakers Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And Bill Pellerin was sometimes one of our afternoon speakers or MC. Nighttime speakers Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and sometimes also Tuesday. And here are the two guys that wrote Turn Left at Orion, Brother Guy, and I can't think of the other guy's name. So these are kinds of speakers that we get. There's a swap meet on Friday. If you got stuff to sell, are you looking to buy something? Here's a place to do it. There's a group photo Friday at 1 o'clock. So we have signs so we know what year this was taken. So this is a 2013 picture. The Great Texas Giveaway, Friday and Saturday nights. We'll have 20, 30 door prizes to give out. And it's just a table showing some of the stuff for one night that was given away. Including main prize was a scope. Some more events. There's the ASTROPHOTO or imaging contest. So if you do photography, either film or images now type thing, you can put those into a contest. There's an art contest, any type of art, three-dimensional art, like telescopes, small telescopes or glass telescopes. ATM, amateur telescope making recognition. So this is if you make something for a telescope. They have different observing programs. There's a novice for the beginner who doesn't really have a telescope and just starting out. There's a binocular program, a telescope program, and an advanced program. There are two big awards we give out, two recognitions. One's called Lone Stargazer. It's for personal achievement. Has this person done something special that deserves recognition? Some of the previous member awardees are David Levy, Larry Mitchell, Amelia sitting right here, and the Fort Bend Astronomy Club asteroid team. So they've discovered like 400 something asteroids. And then there's a Omega Centauri recognition for the promotion of astronomy to the public. So here, David Levy, Deborah Bird, who started Texas Star Party. Walter Scott Houston was a writer for Sky and Tel for like 40 odd years. Stephen O'Meara is an author for Sky and Tel and astronomy. And the Fort Bend Astronomy Club outreach. They do a tremendous amount of outreach. So they got the award a couple years ago. And then there's a Great Texas Giveaway #1 and #2, Friday night and Saturday night. Observing programs, the different ones. I guess the first one up left is like for the novice, and then depending upon the subject matter, the pin will be designed around that. On the right, lower right, is the advanced observing program run by Larry Mitchell. And I would guess there's 75 to 100 different pins given out over the years. Different types of pins, not number of, but different types of pins. Here are just some pictures from the ATM to give you an idea of what people bring. This is the judges. On the left is Dennis Borgman from St. Louis, Buster Wilson from Houston, and on the right is Derek Newton and Tracy Knaus, also from Houston. And Dennis and Buster are the judges for this year. So this is how they do it. They go around, they look in and talk to people, take pictures. A non-round tube. This is Chuck Shaw, who lives in Florida now. He has so much stuff hung off the side of his scope. We think he has a 6-inch telescope, but it's hard to tell with everything that he's got there. So he entered this in a contest one year. Amelia with her Estrella, which she uses for outreach. It's painted pink to attract the young girls. And boys, have also drawn to it. How about one on a trailer? This guy called the dome people and asked them, what's the wind rating on it? The usual rating. They said about 35 miles an hour. Why, what do you need? And he said 55. So anyway, so he has this scope mounted in there. He has it on a pedestal. Pedestal goes down to the ground, so it's separated from the trailer. So you don't have to worry about walking and vibrating the trailer and vibrating the telescope. A Chef Spiegler, which has 27 mirrors or something, like 3 or 4 mirrors to get it to come out to the eyepiece area. Or instead of just a telescope, just some accessory. In this case, it was a chart box with a light inside, so we can see, through the glass, look at his chart, not have to worry about the dew, possibly. So anything along that way. And then this telescope here, George Stradley. He was an amateur furniture maker. And it's not so much special about this telescope, except this is the first telescope that he built at age 85. And he built 3 of them in his lifetime. So good to see you, George. Astrophoto imaging. Here's some sample pictures taken at TSP. And you see 6217 in Ursa Minor, 4536 in Virgo. Excuse me, 6217. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. 4395. And just, another nighttime long exposure shot. I want to remind everybody, all these pictures were taken at TSP. Okay, those are Hubble pictures, but you get the idea. I took this from that refractor telescope I showed earlier. This was taken at TSP. M8 Lagoon. So let's talk about the different kinds of housing types at TSP. There's tent camping. So there's dry camp, that's it. No electricity, no water. There is a bathhouse available for restroom facilities and showers. There are RVs, all with electricity, water, and a dump. There's bunk houses, a total of about 93 beds, anywhere from like 4 or 5 to 12 people. There are private baths and stalls. You get both the upper and lower bunk bed, so you can sleep on one and store stuff on the other. And this comes with meals on the ranch. There's 7 family cabins with a queen bed and 1 set of bunk beds. And here again, that includes meals. There's 35 motel rooms. Most of them have 2 beds, a couple have 1 bed, and meals come with those. You can stay offsite in town at a hotel or B&B or RV park or with friends. or you can stay offset with an equipment tent or trailer. So you stay off site, but you leave something on the ranch and take up real estate. So they do charge you for that. So dry camping, that's it. There's your tent on the grass. Pull up a spot. Don't really look for trees. There aren't that many. Picture that down the RV line. The bunk beds, bunk houses are typically in standalone buildings with one entrance. And the bunk beds are spread around. As I said, there are private baths, toilet and shower stalls. Motel rooms typically come 4 to a pod. Each has their own entrance, their own steps, and they all have a porch with a bench or two in front. Now, getting to the start party, we'll go into part 2 here. So we're going to talk about submitting a housing request, the drawing process, confirmation emails, cost, registration fee, PRUDE ranch housing fee. So we'll go through all that. So you should get an email that looks something like this. We get a list from the Astronomical League of all the member societies, and send out a blast email. This tells you a little bit about the dates this coming year will be May 2 through 8 in 2021. If you're staying on the ranch and housing, RV or camping, and staying off-site, everyone needs to enter the drawing held in late January, so we know exactly how many people are coming, whether you need housing on the ranch or not. You should submit a registration reservation request form at the end of the drawing before the middle of January. And it should be opening up very end of November, very beginning of December. So this will provide you the highest possible chance being selected. 500 people is typically normally what we go for. It may be 300 just this coming year. So, and then there's a link on the email on how to get started. So there's a random drawing for all attendees. If you're the first person in or last person to submit a form, it doesn't matter. It's all computer generated. You have to go to tsp.org, TexasStarParty.org, and create an account. And on the webpage form, there's a registration and my TSP account. Fill that out. There's a step-by-step tutorial available there. It must be done by the middle of January, January 15-ish, when they cut that off, so then the housing people can start working and assigning. Names are drawn at the end of January. On the form that you fill out, your name, how many people are with you, and days to attend. You have 3 housing preferences. Anywhere from off-site with equipment tent, dry camping, RV, family cabin, hotel room. So you put those in different orders, whatever your preferences are. There's a form for other comments. If you want a specific room or a specific RV or a general location or a specific bunkhouse, put that in there. If you're sharing a room with others, all of you, 3, 4, 5 of you, whatever, all have to put in the same information, the same housing preferences in the same order. So if a group all must input the same info. The drawing process, at the end of January, you have to give about 2 weeks to finalize and go through everything. It's computer generated random order forms. Housing committee assigns housing using your 3 preferences. Staying 5 days or more has priority, because we want to maximize the vacancy or the occupancy of the ranch. So, it's best to put in at least 5 days. If your housing request is not filled, they'll put you on a wait list, and they'll keep you posted. They'll let you know that you're on the wait list. In the past, we've been pretty good about filling out the wait list, getting rid of it. Sometimes there is still some people left over, but if you get at the top of the list, you have a pretty good chance of getting in. The TSP registration, going back to 2019 cost, for each attendee is $80 before typically April 1. It's $150 after that, and at the gate, or if you want to come in for one day only, $100. Occasionally people will do that. For each additional family member, it's $60 or $70. So you can do family registrations. Full-time students under age 26 free with identification with a school ID card or something. And that registration gives you access to all the lectures, the observing fields, the contests, observing programs. That's everything. So there's no extra fees, past this. The different types of housing, and these are past year's prices. For tent camping, it's $16 a day. For the RVs, it's $30 a day for 1 or 2 people. That's like $5 or $10 extra for each additional person. The bunkhouses is $65 a day, and you get meals. And I'll talk about meals in a few minutes. 2 minutes. Family cabins. So we got 1 queen bed, a set of bunk beds. It's $87 a day per person, which includes meals. Motel rooms or the 2 beds is $106 a day per person, and that includes meals. So if you're off-site, doesn't cost you anything. If you have the equipment or tent trailers, $12 a night. So if your name is drawn, you'll be notified by email. Go to the web page, My Account, pay the TSP registration online with a credit card or PayPal. You get an email from PRUDE Ranch, pay your ranch deposit online, and start packing. The meal plan is 13 meals. It starts Sunday dinner and lunch and dinner Monday to Saturday. No breakfast because we figure you're sleeping. There's always a main course, veggies, a salad bar, drink, bread, and dessert. Very good desserts. The motel, family cabins, and bunkhouses, that's all included in the price. Campers off, RVs offsite, it's optional if you want to do that. There are $265 for the week for the 13 meals, or you can buy individual meals if you'd like. Or bring your own snacks, or there's a good sized grocery in town, not so much an HEB, but it's got enough stuff. They have a few of our dollars. There's usually also a snack bar that's open from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. So after you've been up for observing for a while, you take a break and go get a Diet Coke float or hot chocolate or something. Sometimes they'll have solid food, sandwiches. They used to make real good ham and cheese sandwiches. So what to bring for the field? The obvious, like your telescope, and whatever you bring to other star parties. What's not so obvious is a 50-foot extension cord. All the fields have power. So you can plug in your telescope, your computers into the power that's on the fields. Bring some indoor-outdoor carpet for ground cover. A scope cover, because it does get windy. It could rain, so you do want your scope protected. Secure your scope to the ground. If your scope's on a tripod, you need to anchor it to the ground, because it'd be very easy for a dust devil to come through and knock over your scope. It's even knocked over my dog that was sitting on the ground. So you have to be careful of that. Red and white flashlight, white in case it's cloudy. If it's cloudy, it's darker than when the sky is clear and the Milky Way is out, because there's no light pollution to reflect off the clouds to give you light. And one of our members walked into a telephone pole when it was cloudy because she didn't see it. So bring a white flashlight just in case. What to bring for housing? If you're tent campers, get a good floor and a good fly in case of rain. We recommend 80-penny landscape timber nails for stakes. The plastic ones that come with tents just ain't gonna work. Bring a sledgehammer to put in these nails and vice grips, pull them out at the end of the star party. For RV, bring a water Y, and also bring a 30 amp to a 215 amp converter cable, because most posts have 30 amp, have a 30 amp and 215 amp. So if you happen to need 30 amps, you have to split it into the 215s. Bunkhouses, bring earplugs and eye masks for sleeping. Towels, bed sheets, blankets, pillows, soap, sleeping bag, foam, optional. They are bunk beds, and they do have a mattress, but this is more designed for a kid's summer camp kind of deal. So the mattresses aren't that thick. So you may want to bring something else to sleep on. Motel and family cabins bring coffee and filters. It has a 4-cup coffee maker, but they supply, bed linens and towels and things like that. Ice is available, check at the office, so you can get some there. What else to bring? An ice chest, to help store things, store some food or drinks in. Clothes for all temperatures. To be warm in the day, and because it's out in the desert, it can fall pretty fast at night. So make sure you have warm clothes and cool clothes. A hat for sunshade. Money for the vendors. Stuff for a swap meet. So if you have some extra stuff you want to get rid of, bring it there, see if you can sell it, put a tag on it, hang around for a little bit. Bring money in case you want to buy something. Rules you should know. TSP supplied power cords on the field or for telescope and accessories only. Not air conditioners, not heaters, not heavy duty fans or anything like that. It's just mainly designed for the telescope and accessories. No pets are allowed because if they're, number one, they could be barking at 8 o'clock in the morning, people trying to sleep, or if they're in the housing, covered housing, the next people coming in may be allergic to them. So no pets are allowed. No white light at night if under observing conditions, which is an obvious rule. No driving at night if under observing conditions. So if you're staying off site and you want to observe from the site, you have to park your car outside the front gate before darkness, and walk on in. From the front gate to the upper observing field is about a half mile. So that gives you an idea of how far it is. Staying off site, park outside the gate before dark. Use dim red flashlights pointed down, not the headlamps. The people sometimes use no red headlamps. No green lasers to point out the sky because people may be imaging and that will mess up their images. Music with headphones only. TSP does have a radio station. It's on the air during TSP. You'll hear anything from Beethoven to Bach to hard rock, to ZZ Top, to ABBA. No telling what you'll hear on that. All RV, trailer, and camper lights must be off, red, or shielded, so no white light comes out. No open fires on the ground. If it's in a grill, like a Coleman stove or something, and only during the day. We don't want any white lights at night, so nothing on the ground. It is very dry out there, so it's easy to start a fire. Other activities in the area. McDonald Observatory, TSP has a couple special tours, more than just what the public gets. They go more to the back rooms of a lot of the telescope buildings up there to get some private special tours. There's a Harvard radio telescope just down the road from TSP. The Fort Davis is an actual fort from the late 1800s. You do fossil hunting. Touring the countryside, there's like a 74-mile loop around the area, so you can see what the countryside looks like. Get fountain drinks at the drugstore. And Porter's grocery stores is a good stopping point that a lot of people go to get something to eat. And there's the Marfa lights. Marfa is about 23 miles away. They do have a night viewing stand that you go there and watch the Marfa lights. So people have done that, and we've gone once or twice and still have not seen them. And just go to www.fortdavis.com and check out the Chamber of Commerce and see what they have there. Videos to see on the TSP website under news videos. We have different videos you can watch. The orientation, the TSP experience, it goes you through the whole orientation process, and just different movies, one called Rumble and Sway. Just getting started shows what we do to start to prep the facilities to have the star party. And this little picture right here talks about all the power cords going out. And the last day, people salute the last day of the star party. And there's one about just a drone aerial view of observing fields. I think Will Young is on the presentation tonight. So TSP 2021, May 2 to May 8. That's the day we signed a contract with the ranch today. Now, I've got an arrow here. Let's talk about what next year may be like. Because of the COVID, number one, it may be a while before we decide to cancel it, depending on how the state goes. The government may say no big groups or anything. We don't know. It's not going to be like what I just showed you, unfortunately. So these are the COVID changes for 2021. No daily or evening meetings or speakers, because doing the social distancing, we can't get everybody in the meeting hall. All fees are going to be paid online, not at the registration desk or the front gate, just so we don't handle money and possibly pass the virus between people that way. No seating in the dining hall. It's going to be moved to the meeting room. So, and they'll have the tables far enough apart, so you can spread out there while eating. Food will be served by the staff. There'll be no self-serving. You can take the food outside, go to the back room, go back to your room, or go to your observing site, or go into the meeting room where they have it set up. It's a shame you can't get your own desserts now. You can't pick out on those. Don't have any door prizes or a group photo. Just here we go and try and do the social distancing thing. No vendors, probably. We're still looking at how to set that up. So we ensure a proper space between scopes on the observing fields. So you do your, 6 feet, but I think they're going to try and do like 15 feet between scopes. So think about going to TSP. This is what the road may look like. If the road really looks like this, I'm not sure it'll be a great view, or we're really in trouble. I'm not sure. So anyway, that's what I've got. I didn't see the chat come through the way I have the presentation. So any questions or anything?
Yeah, Steve, had a few. Ed Franey had asked earlier, and I think you answered it here. Did I see it right on an early slide? May 2nd is opening day, and I think
Yes,
that is correct.
Yes, it is what it is the next week, Tuesday is new moon. And we figure new moon's on Tuesday. When you get to the end of the week, you're going to have moon bothering you. There'll be more people will be bothered by the moon than those staying up all late the week before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's typically, I'm going to stop sharing here. Okay.
And then Ed also asked, are masks required? Not mentioned.
Yes. When you're in a situation with other people around, yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's similar to what we had at the El Dorado Star Party this year as well. Whenever you were going into common areas or other areas where you might be in close contact, they did ask, actually required, not just ask, require you to wear a mask as well. So even in public restrooms and things like that,
yes,
you did have to wear masks.
Yes.
Okay. Had a few other comments about the shakes, so no questions, but it seems like the shakes are a big hit, and I can confirm they're fantastic. I will say that a Frito pie and hot chocolate 2 o'clock in the morning is absolutely fantastic as well. So I'll be quiet here, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them of Steve.
Sure, go on.
Hey, Steve, I think you mentioned a radio observatory nearby. Could you provide any details about that?
I don't remember going to, I think a million years ago went to it, and you can, they walked up on the dish, but you can't do that anymore. Right next to the PRUDE ramp, next to the entrance, there's another road called Sproul Road, and it's just down there a mile or two. So it's real close, and you can talk to the front desk at the ranch about getting over there for a tour.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a big dish.
Steve, can you talk about where people come from? That's much more than just Texas.
Oh, yes. Literally coast to coast. We've had Japan, we've had England, we've had Australia, South America, Canada, Mexico. So it is an international event. So yes, we've had people from around the world. I don't think we've had anybody from Antarctica yet. Pretty much, every other continent. Yes. Any other questions?
Jim King said Kosovo. Yes, we did have somebody from Kosovo as well.
Kosovo, yes, twice at least.
Yes.
We even picked her up when she first came to the US. We picked her up at
Yes.
the airport. And drove her out there. She put a
Mike,
little NASA sticker on our passenger door, and it's still there.
yeah. Mike, and I don't have the last name, said the radio telescope is part of the VLBA question. I
do
guess
not-
that was the question.
Will Young is saying yes, it is. So
He is, okay.
I just like that. Since it's a novice meeting, can you mention what VLBA is?
very, very large VLB.
Very long.
Baseline.
Very
long baseline array. Yep.
Okay, it's a big array of radio telescopes. I think they're set up around the world. There's one out in around Las Cruces or something, New Mexico. There's a big array out there. Very large array.
So you can get radio telescopes to work together. But yeah,
Right.
I'd like to explain all the acronyms when they come up in the novice.
I'm
meeting.
sorry, yes.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the darkness of the skies there, we refer to that in using something called the Bortle scale. Could you explain the Bortle scale quickly, Steve, and then what to expect from a Bortle scale perspective at the Prude Ranch?
Bortle scale runs from 1 to 9. 1 is the best skies. 9 are the Houston skies.
Right.
So we do have Bortle 1 and 2 out at Prude Ranch. Sometimes we'll have some smoke come through from field burning in Mexico. In the past couple of years, the northern horizon been lit up a little bit with drilling rigs. So it's basically Bortle 1 and Bortle 2. So like those 2 nighttime pictures I showed of the site gives you an idea of how dark the sky is.
Absolutely. And Jim King said you can see your shadow from the light of the Milky Way. That is true. And I've heard that Jupiter has cast a shadow as well for people
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And people complained about Venus. They were inside their tent and they can see people walking by when Venus, in front of Venus. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to mention that when Texas Star Party is at its best, I finally saw the Milky Way, especially the early ones where I was like, this is why they call it the Milky Way. At the very best nights, the Milky Way firms up and looks opaque with hard edges. It's really amazing. We don't get quite that darkness as much often, but sometimes it can still happen.
Yes.
But it's amazing. I thought this is what the ancients saw and why they called it the Milky Way.
Yeah. And it's still interesting because the time of year that we visit, the Milky Way doesn't quite rise until a little later in the evening.
Right.
And for a lot of people who were there for the first time, they might think it's a storm cloud, right? Is that something that you hear quite often?
We have had several people start to cover up their scopes thinking it was a storm cloud. And first timers, typically the first night will just stand there and look up. There's too many stars and you can't pick out the constellations.
That happened to me the first time. I remember asking Amelia, I said, Amelia, I'm lost. Can you point me to the Big Dipper?
And unfortunately, there was one guy that was looking up his first night there. And there's a little bridge by the meeting hall. He walked off the bridge and broke his arm.
Oh, geez.
So that's how mesmerizing your first time is.
Yes, absolutely.
In the early years, and Debbie remembers, the sky was milky, just black, just very dark.
Yeah, I'd like to mention I grew up out there in Midland, or about 3 hours away. I went to Girl Scout camp out there. I still remember this one time we were sleeping under the stars. And I remember thinking there's so many stars there, I can't recognize any of the constellations. And it was about 30 years later that I realized, after joining the Astronomical Society, that yeah, there were a lot of stars, but I hadn't learned summer constellations yet. So it's no wonder I couldn't find Orion and Sirius, but that was part of it. So you do learn the constellations for the time of year when you go out there also.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
have talks for that.
And Steve, I know you mentioned it was about a half-mile walk from the upper field to the front gate. So if you are
Correct.
staying off site, you do have to make that walk
Yes.
every night to get to your car to get back to Fort
Yeah.
Davis or wherever you're staying, right?
Take your eyepieces and your laptop with you, but you do not have to take your telescope. So you just set up your telescope when you get there and you take it down when you leave. So if you're staying off site, you just leave your scope there. So just, some people bring a little wagon to carry, some stuff, or set up on the lower field, which is right, next to the front gate, is an option too.
Yeah.
or
And
middle.
I'll ask one other question and I'll shut up and let other people ask. Could you say that, or would you say that there's distinct characteristics between the lower, middle, and upper field in terms of the type of observers that you have out there? Visual versus photographic. Maybe members of one club versus another tend to dominate some of these fields.
HAS typically dominates the upper. Well, they don't dominate the field, but most of the HAS members are on the upper field. The Fort Bend club is typically up there also, and imagers will be up there. On the lower field, sometimes you'll have car traffic go by, so it's not conducive to imaging. Middle field is in the middle.
It used to be Oklahoma territory.
Yeah, it used to be Oklahoma territory when they were very active in it.
Right.
So, but come on out one time and see what you can do, and where's your room? If your room is one of the bunk houses, you may want to set up on the middle field. If you have a motel room, on the upper field. So where your housing is could also help determine where you set up.
Absolutely.
And how close do you want to be to the nighttime snack bar?
That's the critical decision point there, right? All right. What other questions do we have for Steve?
So Joe, after questions, before we leave, I'd like to mention a little bit about next month before we take off.
Certainly. Okay.
Okay, so we have Craig Lemison here. I see he's viewing with us. And I've had an idea for a long time called Novices Speak to Novices. So Craig's going to give us about a 40-minute talk. I wanted the experience of being a relatively new astronomer and have people who may have been doing it for just a little bit of time talking about what they've done right, what they've done wrong, how they got started at something new. And also be a great time just to ask general questions. So besides a presentation from Craig, I'd like to invite all novices who have been doing this for a few months or a year to put in their 2 cents also next time when we have the discussion, so that those of you can maybe give your wisdom to the people who are even farther behind you in getting started on this.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Debbie. And Cameron Henderson asked, will the PowerPoint be available on the site? I don't think we'll have the PowerPoint itself, but we will have the recording of the presentation that you can go back and look at, Cameron. So please do look for that. That'll probably take about a day or so for me to process and get out there. So, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. Steve, thank you again. It was a wonderful presentation. It made me nostalgic for the days of TSP.
Us too. We're waiting to go back.
Yeah, and you mentioned Will Young. I'm probably going to have to go on to YouTube and watch one of Will Young's videos on the Texas Star Party just to get that fix a little bit. So Will's put together some wonderful videos of TSP. I've been in a few of them and want to get that fix.
We've all been in a few of them.
Exactly. So, hey, tomorrow is our annual meeting, as I mentioned earlier. So 7 p.m. If you haven't registered, please do so. The registration information is on the website, http://astronomyhouston.org. If you're into Facebook, you can follow us there, Twitter @HoustonAstroSoc, and on Instagram @AstronomyHouston. If you have any questions, maybe you want to ask a question of Steve, please send that in to info@astronomyhouston.org and we will get that over to him. Or if you have questions about anything else, you can ask that there. So again, thank you very much, Steve. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday at the dark site. And as I mentioned to a lot of the other folks, if you're thinking about going, look for an email that might indicate whether or not we have a caravan from Columbus out to the dark site and then a subsequent tour. So looking forward to it. And with that, I think we're adjourned. So thank you very much, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks so much,
All
Steve.
right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Steve. Great job, Steve. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.